The Mandalorian Chapter 19 had a lot of Easter eggs and callbacks, and one of the more obscure ones I've not seen too many people acknowledge was the Frigosian at the Coruscant train station. Now you might be wondering, what is a Frigosian, and why do they look so much like minions? Well, I can't answer that second question. What I can say is they've now appeared in Kenobi, the Andor show, and the Mandalorian, but they first appeared in The Face of Evil, a short story as part of the Journey to the Force Awakens multimedia initiative. The species was given the name by Pablo Hidalgo, who named them after the McDonaldland Fry Guys. The Frigosians were native to the planet of Tanzil 5, and they wore goggles to protect themselves from light in certain environments. They had very sensitive eyes. And after featuring in the 2015 short story, they also appeared in The Force Awakens itself, working at Maz Kanata's castle as cryptosurgeons. These creatures also appear multiple times in Star Wars Resistance. But with that fun fact out of the way, today, my dear friends, we have a variety of very interesting news updates. We begin with The Mandalorian Season 3. Back in October of 2021, I had a scoop that Kevin McKidd, who voiced Fenn Rau in Star Wars Rebels, was seen on the set of Mando Season 3, and for the last 2 years, that went pretty much under the radar, but according to new reports courtesy of MakingStarWars.net, the Star Wars Rebels Mandalorian is going to be appearing in this season, and Kevin McKidd, who did the voice, is the one playing him in live action. Kevin McKidd revealed on Twitter in the past he had ambitions of playing the character again, and Dave Filoni recently made comments that Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, Cad Bane were not the only ones coming into live action from animation. And with the Ahsoka show set to give us the Ghost Crew, Fenn Rau, an ally to our heroes who bowed down to Bo-Katan when she was handed the Darksaber, is going to appear in Mando in live action. And it's also worth mentioning that Promo Bricks are reporting a Mandalorian Lego set based on the Season 3 finale, and that's going to feature a Fang fighter. That ship was seen in Star Wars Rebels, and was used by the Mandalorian Protectors, of which Fenn Rau was the leader during that time. All the Protectors were killed by the Empire and Gar Saxon, but luckily Fenn Rau survived. Given the report from Making Star Wars and this Fang fighter leak, it's very likely Fenn Rau's going to appear in the next few weeks. What an awesome character, who witnessed Sabine Wren training with the Darksaber. Fenn Rau in The Mandalorian is set to be part of the reunion of all the clans, but they do note he's going to represent the old Mandalorian ways, so not just the Protectors, but also the way of the old Mandalorians as he sees fit, not as strict as the tribe though. And is Fenn Rau a sign we're going to see other Star Wars Rebels characters before the Ahsoka show in Mando Season 3? Could we see Sabine Wren? I reckon if we're going to see a uniting of all the clans, she should be there with Clan Wren, Ursa and Tristan if they're still alive, or just Sabine on her own. Really set up the Ahsoka show by using The Mandalorian Season 3, show Sabine Wren coming to Mandalore, and then continuing her quest with Ahsoka. Now in other Mandalorian news, Katee Sackhoff has answered why Bo-Katan didn't tell Din, or the rest of the tribe she's now part of, about the Mythosaur. In a new interview with Entertainment Weekly, she said the following: Bo-Katan doesn't necessarily trust what she saw, she might have thought that she imagined it. There's so many things that she's trying to process in her head, and I don't necessarily think it's something she wants to tell anyone about right now. And Sackhoff confesses how many hard losses Bo-Katan has suffered, and this is something we don't talk about enough. And Katee says, quote, she truly is alone and has nowhere to go, and after her palace was bombed on Kalevala, that's why she joined the tribe. It's a safe haven for the moment. Even though she doesn't walk the way, at least for the moment. I think Bo-Katan is a remarkably strong character. It doesn't get said enough. At this stage in the timeline, she feels as though she let everyone she knew down, the Mandalorians generally, but also her house, of which she is the last member. She feels as though she let her heritage down. In Chapter 18, The Mines of Mandalore, when she was talking about her upbringing, it seemed very clear to me that she was always under pressure. As a royal daughter, she always had expectations put upon her. And so in Star Wars Rebels, when Sabine Wren hands her the Darksaber, all of her experiences up until that point with Death Watch in the Clone Wars had led up to that one moment. She gave it to Bo because she believed she'd be a better ruler. She would do justice to the sword, the legendary weapon crafted by Tar Vizsla. So Bo-Katan lifts the sword up, the Mandalorian people bow down to her, and so then she was Mandalore. Not necessarily the rightful ruler, but that responsibility was in her hands. Sabine ordained her and said, you know what, you are much better for this role than I am. Now, we don't know too much of what happened between Star Wars Rebels and The Mandalorian Season 1, at least from the standpoint of Bo-Katan, but the Purge of Mandalore took place, so think of the shame Bo-Katan must have felt, and we really see this in Chapter 17. Bo-Katan, on her throne on Kalevala, was sat there depressed, she looked defeated, heartbroken, she gave up all hope. But amazingly, when she saw Din's passion, and of course coming across the Mythosaur, she was changed. We need to appreciate just how far Bo has come. That's what Katee means when she says Bo's been through a lot, and she also spoke about why Bo joined the tribe. In her own words, she said, "I think she's just weighing her options." At the beginning of the episode, we see that everything she has is gone. Everything. She lost her home, she lost her home world, she lost her family, she lost her people, she lost the Darksaber. She has nothing left. And so the idea that these people accept her with open arms is intriguing to her. She's probably thinking that this might work. Some very interesting comments indeed. Let me know your thoughts on them in the comments down below. And so now, my dear friends, a couple of updates for the 2 High Republic shows. Starting with The Acolyte. Not only is it going to be multiple seasons, but Season 1, currently filming here in the UK, is going to be 8 hours long. 8 episodes, each 1 an hour long. And last week it was confirmed by Bob Iger that the show's coming out sometime in 2024, in the first half of the year. And second of all, an update for Young Jedi Adventures. It's no longer dropping on May the 4th, but rather Wednesday, April 26th. All the episodes drop at once, and they're expected to be about 10 minutes in length each. This adorable series also has its first piece of merch, a plush of the Pooba Jedi called Nubs, so adorable. From what I've heard, this show is aimed at young kids, so don't expect it to have too much depth. There's not going to be too much deep Star Wars lore, and I don't imagine I'm going to be doing 10-minute breakdown videos, but this kind of show is so essential because it's introducing Star Wars to a new generation in an easy, accessible way. This sort of thing is extremely valuable, and even as a grown-ass adult, I'm going to check this out. The character designs are so cute, and Yoda is in this show too, which is always really exciting. This takes place 200 years before The Phantom Menace, and it introduces some new species, and is going to have some tie-in material coming later in the year too, some books. So with this push forward to April 26th, it means May the 4th is reserved for Visions Volume 2. So share your thoughts on all the news we covered in today's video. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always.
Filoni and company, and Jon Favreau is a genius too, in terms of creating this and slotting this into the world. I mean, they make an amazing tandem, those two. They're very good at creating stories that expand and support on lore that has already been established, right? So we see what actions or decisions or inaction or indecision, the consequences of those. We know down the line, eventually this is going to happen, right? And that's the heartbreaking part of it. You see it with Andor. You know where Andor is going to end if you've watched Rogue One, but it still makes it compelling.